Now, if you live in Florida, you might know that it's about 309 major hospitals throughout the state of Florida, but do y'all know what the first hospital was? Well, if you didn't, don't worry. I did some digging. Let's get into it. Now, before I get too deep into this, I gotta say, I'm breaking this up into 3 separate parts, and the reason is because I'm gonna go over the first 3 separate styles of hospitals. I just wanna clarify that. Now, in 1597, that's around Ponce de Leon them time. When they were, first getting to Florida and they was, trying to expand their community, they were battling with, natives and each other, some odd reason. But when people got hurt, they needed somewhere for them to go. Now, the structure that this started in, it was like a barn first. They had animals and stuff in here. And they converted it. But this rode like this for a while, for a long time. And the thing about it is, there was not another hospital built for a very, very long time. Now, the reason why, the first hospital was the only hospital for a long time is because after that, for the next 100, 200 years, with all the wars and everything going on, ain't nobody got time to go to the hospital. Most of the medical attention that you would get was on the battlefield. They'd have like a tent. They'll set up this little thing in the woods, and they'll take care of you right there. Or you had like a private practice, and you would just do it like out of your home. So a lot of these doctors, over the next couple 100 years, they were just taking care of the patients right in their home, which is not good. Now, if we go back to the first hospital, 1597, if you go into the future a little bit, 1763, during the British occupation of Florida, somebody buys this and the land it sits on, and they created another wing onto this hospital. Now, if you know St. Augustine, you know what this building is, all right? Originally, this building was located on St. George Street, all right? And when they added the other wing to it, it was more of a hospital, but it was still for the military. Now, the whole reason for them, purchasing it and adding another wing is because they wanted to take way more patients. They had way more injuries and things they had to do here. But there was more. They wanted to experiment with making their own medicines. So, inside of that other wing that they built, all right, they had a lab in there where they could, come in and, make all their medicines and whatever they want to do, pain relievers, whatever. But they were trying things that nobody else at the time was trying. Also, they brought in a full-time doctor to be here all the time. So this was the first own hand doctor. This was his hospital. He was here. He took care of all the patients, and he had nurses and whole nine. So shout out to him. Now, during the second British occupation, they added another wing to this so they can take more soldiers, all right? And things were going real good, all right, for a while here at this hospital. But somewhere around the mid-1800s, there was a major fire, all right? And it took out the West Wing. But that ain't it, though. Because a little bit later, another fire broke out, took out the East Wing. So all they got left was the original building. That's why this is all you see in St. Augustine. This was the only building left. And if you were wondering, if this place was haunted, you can bet for sure. Bet your last dollar. If you had $1 to get you a bag of potato chips you ain't ate in days, bet that dollar that this place is haunted. Because you finna get paid. Now, Duval County. Y'all up. 1870, right? This is Duval County Hospital and Asylum. Now, this hospital was built in the Oakland community area in Jacksonville. Like I said, 1870. But what makes this one different than the rest of those hospitals way back is it's not a military hospital. So this hospital is the first non-military hospital in Florida. So, for the first 7 years, from 1870 to 1877, it was like a 3-building parcel type deal. But once they started getting a little bit busier, in 1877, they had to build a bigger structure so they could take more patients. Now, I'm not for sure, okay? I just want to say this because I kept Googling what the other one was that they built after, 1877, and this kept popping up. So I believe this is what it looked like after they rebuilt it. Now, this hospital, they take care of the community for about 50-something years, all right? But once again, they need to rebuild. But they changed the location, all right? And they needed to rebuild in a way where they could take care of multiple patients. So they actually built a hospital that could take more than 50 patients. Also, not only can they, hold 50 patients at one time, they had similar to an emergency room, all right? Like you get hurt real quick, they'll fix you up in a little thing and you get out of there. So it was almost like they had the first ER. Maybe, I don't know. I got to do a little bit more digging on that. But holding the 50 patients didn't last long. No, not at all. Because they did that in 1923. 1926, tuberculosis has a major outbreak, all right, in Florida. And now they need to be able to hold 200 patients. So they build more to this hospital and make it even bigger. And if you're wondering, all right, everybody outside of Jacksonville, because I know everybody in Jacksonville probably know this, but this hospital, the Duval, hospital, it's now the UF Health Hospital. That's what this is. They run this now. All right, next, Henry Flagler. We all know who, Henry Flagler is. He brought the railroads to the, east coast of Florida, not the west, just the east. But he had a buku amount of money, a ton of it, okay? Bro was going to bed with it. But he wanted to do something, all right, in the St. Augustine area. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to create the first hospital, all right, with auxiliary. I'm going to be honest with you. I had to Google that because I didn't know what that was. Now, what I mean by the first hospital with auxiliary is it was like the first hospital where, it had like a gift shop, little restaurants. People could come and volunteer here, do school stuff here. So it basically was the first hospital that gave a really good overall experience for a patient. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I was doing the research on this, I was like, it's the first hospital to what? But if we think about it, this is very important because this is the first hospital to mold the style of, hospitals today. When you go to a hospital, you need to grab something real quick. You go to the gift shop. They got, restaurants in them now. Some hospital food is fire. Some of them got Starbucks in them now. This was the first, hospital that did that. Now, when Henry Flagler had this idea, he sat down with a bunch of investors, right? In 1888, he said, look, I want to, do this idea. I want to do this kind of hospital because I think it'll be the future. The investors was like, no, I don't think we should do this. This ain't really a good idea, all right? So a lot of the investors backed out and Henry still paid the bill. And he was right. It was the future. Now, if you want to know where that hospital is, it's also now a UF Health Hospital. UF buying up everything. But they must got a lot of money out there. Now, look, I don't know what y'all gonna do to remember this. Like it, comment, share it. I don't know. But the more you know. Peace.